Good evening and thank you for joining us. The Thunder Bay District Health Unit continues to see lower COVID case numbers over the holiday season. 5 new cases were reported today. This comes after seeing 4 on Christmas Day, 5 on Boxing Day, and just 1 case yesterday. As for the 5 new cases today, 3 are related to the ongoing outbreak at Southbridge Roseview. The other 2 come from the Thunder Bay area and are both due to close contact with an infected person. That brings the total cases for the district to 569, with 85 active cases as of today. There were no new deaths reported, and there is no one currently in hospital with the virus. Meanwhile, a COVID-19 alert has been issued regarding the Cloverleaf grocery store in Emo. The Northwestern Health Unit says people who shopped there on December 18th, 19th, or 20th have a very small risk of exposure to the virus. A Facebook post from the store says some of its staff are currently under quarantine, but the store remains open. Opposition critics are slamming the Ford government for its scaled-back vaccination schedule over the holidays. Ontario has fallen behind other provinces. So far, only a small fraction of the vaccines that have come into this province have been administered. Rahim Ladani reports.
On Christmas and Boxing Day, the province of Ontario administered 0 COVID-19 vaccinations, a decision critics say was a big mistake.
This is a situation that is literally one that could save lives if we were ramping up that vaccine distribution instead of ramping it down. Other provinces managed to do that, but we have this huge, problem with the government not being forthcoming in terms of its plan.
Even Dr. Isaac Bogosh, who is on the province's vaccine distribution task force, says he doesn't know why vaccinations were paused over the holidays.
The virus takes no holidays, and neither should we. And I do share that sentiment, in that it would be ideal to really have these vaccine programs running at full tilt. If we have product in freezers, it's not good enough. We have to get that into people's arms.
In a statement to CTV News, a spokesperson for Ontario's Minister of Health says, "It is important to note that COVID-19 has further exacerbated staffing challenges in long-term care homes and hospitals across the province. As a result, over the holidays, hospital sites administering the vaccines requested to operate on slightly amended schedules, recognizing the challenges that the holidays can have on staffing levels in hospitals and long-term care homes." But many frontline healthcare workers are firing back on social media, saying they would have gladly volunteered their time to vaccinate people over the holidays. By contrast, thousands in Quebec were vaccinated over Christmas and Boxing Day.
We're the lowest per capita now of vaccinations of any province in Canada. And given, the dire need to protect residents and staff in long-term care, because that's who we're vaccinating right now, it's just simply wrong to take a pause.
It also appears Canada has fallen behind other countries in its vaccination rollout. According to a leading scientific journal out of the UK, Israel has been able to vaccinate more than 4 people for every 100 citizens, whereas Canada has only given the shot to 0.14 people per 100. Canada also sits behind Bahrain, the UK, and the United States.
In the next couple of months, we're going to see waves and waves of vaccine supply come in, new vaccines. Moderna's now here. So things still look good. Certainly this last couple of days was not optimal, but overall, I think in the end, it's going to be just fine.
Vaccine distribution has already begun for priority groups here in the Thunder Bay area, but the Fort William First Nation is still waiting for a concrete plan for the vaccine to arrive on the reserve. Chief Peter Collins understands that frontline healthcare workers are the first to get vaccinating, saying that just makes sense. He believes the first round of vaccines will also include remote First Nation communities, and that his community will likely be part of a second or third round because of its proximity to a large center like the city of Thunder Bay.
I'm a subcommittee on the vaccine rollout for First Nations, and we're still, there's no identified date yet today, but we're working on legitimacy of how it's going to roll out and who really gets it first in the First Nations.
Though there's still much to be determined, Collins is hoping the vaccine will reach Fort William First Nation around February. It's still unknown when the Thunder Bay Courthouse will be ready to reopen. The building has required extensive repairs after an electrical fire nearly 3 months ago. The blaze broke out in the afternoon of October 4th on the 7th floor. Water used by fire crews reached as far as the basement, causing issues with electrical systems throughout the building. It was originally hoped the courthouse might be open by the end of the year. And while a spokesperson for the Ministry of the Attorney General says significant progress is being made by the restoration crews, there is still no estimated date for reopening. In the meantime, the Superior Court of Justice will continue to operate out of a temporary space at the Courthouse Hotel, and the Ontario Court of Justice will operate 3 courtrooms out of the ballroom section of the Valhalla Inn. More details are emerging about a suspicious death on Christmas Day on the Couchiching First Nation near Fort Frances. Treaty 3 police were called to a home in the early morning hours where 3 people were injured. There are reports that a group of people managed to disarm the assailant and hold him down until police arrived. The man became unresponsive and officers performed CPR, but he was pronounced dead in hospital. OPP have identified him as 41-year-old Randall Morrison of Big Grassy First Nation. The home is being held while police investigate, and an autopsy is performed in Toronto. Anyone with information is asked to contact OPP or Treaty 3 Police. New Year's will bring more than just a change of the calendar for those in Fort Frances. The town is taking a stand against single-use plastics. Starting January 1st, the town will adopt a bylaw that restricts businesses from distributing things like plastic bags and straws, as well as foam-based takeout containers. The bylaw does still allow plastic to wrap flowers and styrofoam to transport live fish. The idea was brought up in Fort Frances in 2019 and was supported unanimously by council back in January of this year. Councillor Douglas Judson, who introduced the bylaw, says locals have shown a lot of support.
Setting, we want to conserve that setting and protect it. So I think that that momentum has always been there. The other piece of this is that some of the alternatives to these harmful single-use products are products that can be made using resources that we have here at our disposal.
Fines for violating the bylaw won't be issued until 2022, allowing businesses to exhaust their existing supply of the disposable items. Thunder Bay's 2 local ski hills are feeling the effects of the 14-day province-wide lockdown. The holiday season is normally the busiest time of year on the slopes, and officials with Loch Lomond and Mount Baldy had been under the impression that they'd still be allowed to operate in the event of another lockdown. Avery McRae explains.
Loch Lomond Ski Area and Mount Baldy have done everything they can to ensure the safety of the public at the ski hills. Social distancing measures are in place. Much of the regular options have been moved outdoors to keep people outside, but when the Ford government announced the 14-day lockdown for northwestern Ontario, the hills had no choice but to shut down. The news not only is upsetting for local skiers and boarders, but the staff as well.
It's very upsetting that we have to be closed. I mean, we've spent the last 8 months now planning to be opened in this sort of capacity. We can operate without our chalet. We can operate in a very safe COVID fashion. And we have been doing that over the last several weeks.
You know, we'll just have to take it as it comes. We've got 2 weeks here, so we regroup. We got lots of snow, and hopefully we get the okay in 2 weeks to open back up.
The closure has forced Loch Lomond to lay off the majority of their staff, which they hope to bring back when they are allowed to reopen. The 14-day closure falls over the student holiday break, which normally would leave the ski hills flooded with friends and family eager to enjoy the time off.
This week and a half period post Christmas is our single largest 10-day stretch of the year. It accounts for approximately 20 to 25% of our overall revenue for the season.
It's definitely a blow this time of season for us. This is a time where we can make that extra bank during the holidays and kind of keeps us going through the rest of the season. So we'll see what happens here in a couple weeks.
Ontario is the only province in Canada and place in all of North America to be forced to shut down their ski hills as a result of COVID-19. Until this past week, ski hills were told they would be able to operate in Ontario under the grey lockdown level of the provincial government's COVID-19 restriction framework. The last second change comes as a shock, as the resorts put in a great deal of effort to be open this season, knowing no matter what the restrictions were, they would be allowed to be in operation.
You know, having this change in government policy is what has really affected us, because we could have planned for it appropriately, and unfortunately we were left kind of holding the bag, not knowing what direction to go.
Both areas will use the 2-week closure to ensure the ski hills are in peak condition in hopes of being able to reopen on January 9th. Ava McRae, TBT News.
The outdoor rink in the township of Conmee now has its roof. Funded by government grants, the roof was installed last Tuesday. Now town staff are hard at work getting the ice ready for mid-January, and as Kayla Karim reports, the new roof means more than just a longer skating season.
Luckily enough, the township of Conmee was able to get their brand new roof for their 5-year-old outdoor rink put up before the heavy snowfall ravaged northwestern Ontario during the holiday week. The $320,000 project was funded through government grants, a process that's been in the works since the summer of 2019. Conmee Mayor Kevin Holland says the addition of the roof is a big positive for his community.
I haven't talked to a lot of the members of the community, but from what I'm hearing out there, that there's a lot of excitement. They like the idea. They're happy that it's fully funded and not going to be a burden on the property taxes.
The roof will allow for extended use of the rink, lessening the impact of the sun in the early spring and sheltering it from the harsh snow from northwestern Ontario winters. And while it will benefit the skating season, Holland hints it will also help out during the summer months.
We've been approached by a lot of different organizations once the word got out about using the facility even during the summertime for things like flea markets and farmers markets. There's quite a ball hockey league in the area that really are excited about the opportunity to use the facility.
Being a small rural community of just under 900 people, Holland says it can be difficult at times to get funding from the government for recreation projects. He says getting this project all but wrapped up will go a long way for families in his community.
Being able to get this grant to make the rink surface more multi-purpose and prolong the life of it in the wintertime, I think is going to give families a lot more opportunity to get out together and do things.
Kayla Karim, TBT News.
Workplace Safety North is reminding snowmobilers of all the things they need to remember before starting their engines and heading out to ride. The Health and Safety Organization recently launched this webinar offering info and tips for riders before they venture onto the trails or other remote areas. It highlights the hazards riders can face, like wildlife, work crews, and environmental differences. Riders are also reminded to take certain precautions before leaving home.
Start by having a look underneath the tunnel to make sure that your track is tight. If you have studs, make sure that the studs are intact. Check your bogey wheels, check your suspension, make sure everything is intact. Many people never look inside their side panels, so they never know what it's actually supposed to look like. Have a look inside these panels before you ride so that you have a good idea of what's supposed to be happening in there.
A number of emergency items are also recommended, such as a battery pack, a multi-use tool, and extra oil. The giving season was especially kind to one Thunder Bay family. They won a nationwide contest for a brand new backyard rink, complete with all the bells and whistles. The Hadley family was one of 3 gold caliber winners across the country in Canadian Tire's Operation Puck Drop campaign. The family was among 10,000 submissions for a standard boxed outdoor rink, but instead they won an even bigger prize, which is now featured on the company's TV commercials.
It's awesome for them to have a safe space. They can walk out the backyard, we'll tie their skates, and they can go play.
What I love most about hockey is being part of a team and playing together instead of just one person.
Hadley says the space will allow her children and their neighborhood friends to play together, developing skills on the ice and in life.
Avery, kind of cold out there today, and I have a feeling it's not.